My name is Prakalpa. I'm the co-founder of a mission-driven company called Social Cops. We were founded on the basic premise that he talked about, which is that Coca-Cola knows exactly when someone consumes one particular can of Coca-Cola in some village in Africa. But when it comes to the most important problems in our lives, when we're talking about national-level healthcare decisions that are affecting 16 million women at any point in time, in most cases, that decision could be made on a sample survey of about 100 people. And how do we solve that problem? So, question, how many of you have asked this, at least one of this question at some point in time? Like, how do I measure my impact? Am I funding the right causes? Are my past learnings being utilized properly? Raise hands, show of hands. Anyone who's asked these questions? Some, okay, almost everyone. So essentially what we've been doing for the past 2 years is we've been working with partners to answering these questions by optimizing their data processes. So before you go into the solution of analytics as such, you need to understand that there are some basic problems that occur with data. So if you look, some of the problems that we have with data today is that in most cases, the data that we have today is going to be collected on paper. This leads to data entry errors. This leads to, research shows that there's almost a 50% error in data entry that can occur in some studies that were done in China. Data is stored in multiple formats across different places, files, PDF files in one place, Excel files in one place. It's almost impossible to actually use this data for a continuous impact generation process. Data is difficult to consume. How does an eventual decision maker, if you give him 80 pages of Excel sheets, there's probably very little chance that a decision maker will be able to understand what decision he eventually has to drive. Data is not searchable. All of us who worked with public data know that it's outdated. It's collected once in 10 years, once in 6 years. How do you use this data? How do you trust this data to ensure that this data is what will eventually tell you this story? So essentially, we work across the ecosystem, right from the collection of data, how do you solve the data collection problem, all the way up to how do you make this data something that's consumable for a decision maker. So essentially, Android-based data collection, I know a lot of you have talked about this. I know there's been a lot of talk, as you were saying, how do you make that A&M on ground collect data on a continuous basis? So essentially, we've built a system that is incredibly simple. In fact, it's being recently being piloted by the TSU in UP by IHAD there. It works really simply. So essentially, as a monitoring and program evaluation person sitting here in Delhi, you log on to a simple web dashboard. It's the same way you log on to your Gmail account. You create a question. You decide what question that's going to be subjective, scale-based, numerical, which language you want that question to be. Do you want it to be Hindi, English, Marathi? And you add skip logics to it. If only showcase this question if this person owns a vehicle that is a two-wheeler. Now that immediately goes out to an Android-based tool. The Android-based device works, it works on anything from 2,000 rupees phones, and the questions show up like that for a field worker on ground who immediately picks up that question and starts punching in answers to that survey. Now, one of the most important things about taking these technology solutions that all of us are used to in these rooms and actually implementing it in a rural context or in context where this has to work in the impact space is that there are lots of things that could go wrong. So for instance, internet is something that does not, that's not always going to be there. So how do you build an offline data collection means? So we had to go in and build something that, works completely offline, collects data completely offline. And the minute there's, a data sync, which would possibly happen, at a district center or the block center, the data will sync back. How do you ensure that, there can be a voice input? Simple things, we talk about accountability in data collection. So simple things like GPS tracking at all points in time to ensure that data is collected from the right places so that someone's not just sitting in a room and punching in data sources there. How do you use this as a program evaluator? So simple household survey, right? So basically we allow the evaluator to add in things like, I want every data point to be collected at least a 50-meter difference from each other. Time tracking. If this survey is going to take at least 12 minutes, then if someone is submitting this in under 6 minutes or greater than 18 minutes, there's possibly something wrong. So the system flags that for you to do your quality checks on it. I'm kind of moving on to the next aspect. So now the data has come in, it's in this Excel sheet. Now what do you do with this data? One of the things that we do is we essentially make data searchable by data point, which means that if you go into your system and you search maternal mortality rate versus iron and folic acid consumption, and the system will populate which data source that data point is in, and it will populate the data points itself. So similarly, now if you look at this in an open data context, so what we've been doing is we've been taking all this PDF data, all this Excel sheets that are there in obscure places. We've been converting this data into basically searchable data, such that it works almost as simply as a Google search would for data. The eventual aspect of this is analysis. So what we've done is we've worked with stakeholders in building dashboards through the most simple of analysis tools to the most complex of analysis tools to actually how can you start making decisions through this data. Now what I'm going to do is kind of take you through a few case studies that we've worked with. So there's been a lot of talk about evidence-based policy. This is something that we did with UNICEF, essentially on maternal mortality. So if you look at this, this is a dashboard across time through different data sources across states. And this is for different interventions, right, from hygiene and sanitation processes to maternal mortality rates. What's been done is it's been simply visualized in the form of a dashboard. If I have time at the end of my presentation, I'll actually show you the dashboard. But essentially what this did was it allowed in one snapshot for the decision makers to understand which states were doing better than which states, where maternal mortality has actually improved and where it has decreased, so that they could go back and dig into that and understand, oh, there was this intervention in Andhra Pradesh, there was a midday meal scheme that for pregnant women which worked really well. So this is what we should scale up at a national level. In terms of essentially, this is again something that we did for a lot of talk about sanitation these days. Now, if you go back into the public worker scheme that exists, so there are karamcharis that are responsible for cleaning your streets in Delhi. Now, there's no such public worker incentive scheme that's associated with our, with our public systems in India. So what we did with one of the municipal corporation wards was that citizens started using their mobile phones to rate the cleanliness of their streets the way you would rate a restaurant on Zomato. So it was as simple as a call that would go out to a citizen on a Sunday morning, and the citizen would basically punch in 0 to 9. And what we did was we started accumulating this data over time and understanding which streets were doing the best in terms of cleanliness over time. And this was, linked back to public worker incentive schemes. So initially what the ward wanted to give them was they actually wanted to give cash awards. So they wanted to give 2,000 rupees per person on a monthly basis for the top 5. What was interesting for us in the first month that we were implementing this was that our partner who was implementing this on ground got, the Karamcharis went to them and said, we don't want money, we want a trophy, but we want the ward councillor to come and give this trophy in front of everybody. And that was just such an interesting, observation on how, every single person could actually be motivated by performance and how we could possibly use, simple data techniques to actually start improving things like performance, morale, attendance rates in all of our programs. He touched upon road accidents. So in India, 17 people die every single hour because of road accidents. 3 of these people are actually dying because of public infrastructure issues. One of these infrastructure issues is broken streetlights. So this is a snapshot of something we did in Ranchi. So basically a citizens group worked with mobile phones to collect data of where the broken streetlights were. So they mapped the broken streetlights of the city, and that was visualized on a map, on a dynamic map. So Ranchi has 9 wards. So what we found through that was that the maximum number of broken streetlights were actually in 2 wards. Now, it's very difficult for a decision maker to ensure that every complaint is solved. Now, if you're, the mayor of a city, there's no way you can ensure that every Shyam and every Radha's problem is solved. But what you can do is that you can allocate resources in your budget based on data that comes. So what actually happened here was that the mayor basically, like a deputy mayor allocated about 2 crores to fixing 2,000 streetlights in Ranchi. Based on this report, he went forward and then, this was right before Diwali. So the entire city was, in a way lit up. And this was all because a citizens group basically took a couple of mobile phones, and instead of just doing cost-based awareness programs, they actually started mapping out data. This is actually a village level visualization. So going down as deep as a village to understand what issues could be there. So if you look at the image on the left, right on top, that's how Google Earth sees this village. So basically it doesn't exist anywhere. What we did was we basically overlaid an image on top of that. So if you see the right-hand top image, that's basically every single household in a village has about 40, 50 households that's been mapped here. Now if you look right at the bottom, that's basically the households visualized in terms, and this is the dynamic visualization. So basically if you look at, that's the households visualized based on the income levels. So if you look, there's that one house right there on the bottom left, that's a really dark blue. Now you click on that household, and on the right hand side you know that that's because the one of the income earners in that family earns 60,000 rupees, and that's the reason that that household is like a really bright blue. Now this is something that you can do for health, education, different other features. Now what we're in the process of doing is basically mapping this with agricultural resources, water resources. Some of the things that and there's going to be a person in that village itself with a mobile phone that's going to give us this data on a continuous basis. So what's going to become really interesting is when you start seeing things like diarrhea outbreak. Now possibly what we would be able to realize is that on the left hand side there's the diarrhea outbreak, and that could possibly be because there's a water source that they're using that is linked to that. Versus the other part or the other cluster of villages that's not using that. So one of the reasons we started Social Corps was primarily because we wanted Google Maps to look like that. So today Google Maps, it just tells you the name of a school. But can you actually allow someone, right from a parent to a public administrator to anybody who actually hovers on that school, can you start telling them what, how many boys are there in that school, how many girls are there in that school, how many toilets are there? Can you tell the district education officer that, look, there are 500 girls in this school, there are 700 boys, there are 4 boy toilets, there's only 1 girl toilet. This means that you need to build 4 more girl toilets, which means that you need to give 1 lakh in your budget this year to this school. So can you actually start driving decisions at that level? Can you start building safer communities? Can you tell the police that these are the areas that, there's been crime? On top of that, can you essentially create a layer that citizens are basically reporting? Where are the broken streetlights? Where are the lack of security guards? So that the police knows from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., this is where I should be patrolling. Can you start building that sort of data into every single decision-making process? And I'd like to think that we can. Hopefully we can together. So I'd love to talk to you guys to understand if there's anything that we can do to, optimize your data collection, your open data activities, as well as, your dashboard making. Just going forward, but yeah, that's me. We're at www.socialcorps.org, and I'd love to talk to you after this.